Changes International, changing lives for the better. Our vision is to be a transformative platform that exposes lies and reveals the truth. Mind Changes International, we on a mission, masking the falsehoods with every new edition. We're here to enlighten your mind with this vibration, expose the lies, speaking truth, normal conversations. Mind Changes International, we on a mission.
Welcome to Mind Changes Podcast. I'm host Lamar Blakeney. I got my sidekick Sean Atkinson. What's going on, my friend?
What's going on? This is a bit of a somber episode, where we're talking about the tragedy in the Western Carolina mountains with Hurricane Helene, man, and we just felt we needed to give them a little love and a little exposure about what's going on.
Absolutely. And so today, what we want to do is we want to dive into, the terrifying world of a hurricane.
Yes.
And how hurricanes are destroying people's lives because we saw it here in North Carolina. I mean, we had a tornado in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. We had the hurricane hit Asheville, North Carolina, and totally disrupted lives. And it's a serious thing. It is a serious thing. So Sean and I wanted to do this special episode where we come up here and we're going to talk about hurricanes. A lot of people don't even know the significance of how they form, when they form, what you should know about a hurricane. So let's do this first, Sean. Let's define what a hurricane is. And I'm pretty sure some of y'all know what a hurricane is. But it can be a powerful tropical storm that forms over warm ocean water. And it can be depending on, where you're at in the world. If you're southern or northern, or it also can turn into what's called a typhoon or a cyclone. Yeah. And that is something none of that smoke. None of that smoke. But their characteristics are similar. So Sean, what's your take on a hurricane?
Well, all these hurricanes, because we have the Atlantic Basin, and that's what we stay in. We're considered in the Atlantic Basin, and our atmosphere is only conducive to get what we call Category 5s. Category 5s is as high as you can get, and we haven't historically seen a lot of Category 5s because it takes a lot to get a storm into that kind of general category. But it seems like lately we're seeing more and more Cat 5s, and this one, got to the Cat 5 status, but then, of course, when it got closer to land, it started backing off to a Cat 4, and then it actually made landfall to Cat 4. And then, like you were saying, the typhoons or the cyclones, they're both the same. Those are formed in the Pacific Basin, and that's around the Asian area, really close to the equator. And because it's close to the equator, those storms typically get even faster. They get even more powerful. They get beyond the Cat 5 status that we get to. And with Cat 5, those are like 180 mile an hour, 185 mile an hour sustained winds with about 200 mile an hour gusts. And then you have these cyclones and typhoons that can reach upwards to 200 mile an hour sustained winds with 240 and 250 mile an hour gusts. And, like you said, those are monsters. Those you never want to see those. And a lot of times they don't make landfall. Because the Pacific is so much larger. It just stays out there and just tears up the ocean. But it's crazy. It's really crazy.
And Sean, remember when you was a kid, right? If somebody put a chip on your shoulder and you be like, knock it off. I dare you knock it off. And then somebody else come and knock it off, and you don't fight that person, but you fight the other person. Well, to a hurricane, warm water is the instigator. It's that ingredient, man, that a hurricane needs to form. And it can be between 26 degrees Celsius or about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And that temperature will provide the necessary heat and moisture and warmth that create the stability in the atmosphere, like in the atmosphere, which is crucial for a storm development. And we got to pay attention to the signs. When they say leave, they don't mean stay. They mean leave. And so
Absolutely.
we have a lot of videos today that we want to play. And like I said, this is not one of those hype podcasts today where me and Sean just, this is serious. People
Yeah.
have lost their lives, their
Yeah.
world, their home,
Their property.
I mean,
Yeah.
Chimney Rock is gone. The whole
Yes.
city is
Yes.
gone. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
play a video, Sean. And let's look at this. Man,
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that's
mean-
that's somebody's loved one. That's somebody's loved one that floated up out of its grave, and now it's part of the debris that's just floating throughout the rivers in Nashville and in the mountains.
Yeah, I can't even. Man, I can't even put my mind around what I just saw because it was a casket that has floated out of its grave where it was. They done buried their loved one. They said their goodbyes, and now it's floating down the river. That's
right.
Horrible. And so,
That's
man,
right.
I pray for those people because it's going to get worse. They have not located every person that has been missing. And you're talking about a mountain. Have you ever been to Asheville, Sean?
Oh yeah, I've been there several times.
Yeah.
Several times.
Man, we're talking about a mountain. A mountain and mudslides. You can't swim in mud.
Yeah.
I don't care how good of a swimmer you are. You ain't got no recourse with mud and and water mixed together.
Nope.
Let's look at this next slide. And listen, this is not for entertainment. This is education because even though they're showing this on the news, some people really don't know how devastating this storm was.
Yeah, definitely, because you always have the individuals that are just kind of arrogant and I'm gonna ride the storm out. I'll be fine. I'll be fine because so many storms sometimes don't come to fruition and as powerful as the meteorologists said they were. So then it causes people to drop their guard. Like, well, the last one that came through wasn't that bad, so I'll be fine with the next one. And not to mention the mountains. The last time they saw something of this magnitude was in 1912. Yeah. Nobody was alive, right? Nobody was alive now that ever saw. So it's completely wiped from memories. Nobody really cares that a big storm was going to come through the mountains. It's like, we're going to be fine. We're in the mountains. We'll be good. Nobody, the meteorologists, the disaster relief, the planners, the engineers, nobody could foresee what was coming. Nobody could foresee.
That's true. And we're going to play another video, Sean. Man, first of all, it breaks my heart when I see these videos and we walk around complaining. Somebody's situation is far worse. These people,
absolutely,
it is almost like being washed off the face of the earth. Like, you don't exist no more. The home you built that you've been living in, that your grandmama left you, your family left you. I mean, you up there with the most beautiful, not beautiful air, the beautiful scenery, most breathtaking air you can take in. I'm talking about clean and pure, and it's gone now. I'm going to play this next video.
Okay.
The wipers are on.
What?
The wipers on that U-Haul are on.
Oh, I hope so. I wonder if somebody's... Why would there fucking be wipers on?
That's a lot of water. A lot of water.
Probably. Well, they don't want this bridge collapsing on
As far
us.
as the eye can see. As the eye can see.
And I mean, listen to that water. Water is, man, it's the most powerful element
It is.
on the planet, on the earth. I mean,
Yeah,
it's the only thing that we have a formula for we can't make.
that's
Make
right.
water. We can start a fire, but you can't start water. Can't
That's
do
right.
any of that. It is powerful and it's
It is.
dangerous and it has force behind it and it has
It
energy.
does. It does.
Water has energy, and to
Yeah.
see how it swept the U-Haul truck away. And what broke my heart, Sean, is when the guy was like, "Why is the wipers on?" Somebody was
Yeah.
in the U-Haul truck.
Somebody could have been in that U-Haul.
Yeah, somebody could
Absolutely.
have been in that U-Haul truck.
Exactly. And not to mention, when you have that much water and you have that much elevation, now you're adding gravity to that water. Because the water, like you said, has power of its own sometimes.
That's
But
right.
when you add all that elevation and you add gravity pulling this water down these slopes into these valleys, it just amplifies the power that water is going to have.
It does, man. And I mean,
now
it's
let's
never gonna be the same, man.
let's paint the picture on how this happened. I mean, okay, so you had the Hurricane Helene in the Gulf, and as it was coming up the Gulf, there was another low that formed off the coast. That low ended up moving up before Helene. It was a leading front that came up before Helene made her landfall.
Mm-hmm.
Now this low literally sat over Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, and it just torrential rains. No wind in it, but just torrential rains. And this rain just fell for like 3 days. Yeah. And as Helene got closer, that low started eating some of what Helene was bringing off of the coast. And it absolutely made that low even stronger. So you had even more rain. So you had probably anywhere from 8 to 10 inches of rain that fell before Helene ever showed up. Yeah. And then as Helene started getting closer, it actually merged with that low, and then it just fed it even more. And then when Helene got over it, and as we discussed, hurricanes need heat, as you said early on. Mm-hmm. Hurricanes need heat in order to feed it. But also, if you add cold air to it, when that hurricane went up those elevations and went into those mountains, it got up in a much colder air mass. Mm-hmm. And then that air mass caused that water that was evaporated in those clouds to unlock. And then you had trillions of gallons of water come crashing down onto those mountains. And then all that water just rushed and uprooted trees and pushed over structures and loosened up mud and rock, and all that stuff come tumbling down the mountain. Yeah. And it was probably the most devastating thing we've ever seen, because in 1912 when this happened, the mountains weren't as developed as they are now. Mm-hmm. The mountains is full of structures and vacation homes and buildings and colleges and all this stuff. Now it's even more tragic because you have more lives in the way of all this destruction.
Yeah. And what made it worse is that because they were so high up in elevation, mm-hmm. if this was Rocky Mount when that happened, because mm-hmm. we're so low, mm-hmm. the wind would have blew water in a more diverse way. But because mm-hmm. they were so close up into the clouds, mm-hmm. it's mm-hmm. almost as like the hurricane was grabbing moisture from mm-hmm. where it was traveling. And as it grabbed mm-hmm. the moisture, it says, "No, we're not going to let it go yet. We're not going to let it go." And then mm-hmm. it stalled. When it stalled, it was like, whoosh, a bucket
yep.
of water, and it fell. And that's how it happened. And that's how it was so destructive, because it had time to float in the atmosphere. It was coming straight out of the clouds directly yep. onto the mountain. Let's look
yep.
at another video. I decided to mute this, Sean, because I just want everybody to look at how this hurricane has devastated Asheville, South Carolina. Asheville, North mm-hmm. Carolina. Just taking over. washing out bridges,
Mm-hmm.
dreams.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, you saw that debris field in the very first of the video, and that is all structures.
Yeah.
That's destroyed. Those were destroyed structures.
Look at
Homes, businesses that you saw, all that wood. Those used to be homes.
Yeah,
That
look
used
at
to
all
be
that
homes
debris.
right there. That's all housing debris right there.
And
And there's probably souls perished in that debris right there.
I was getting ready to say that, Sean. That's just. I mean, look at the destruction of this one storm, and we got another storm forming, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later on.
Man, look at this, man. I just pray for these people, man. It's just bridges washed out. It's just.
And that's not just water. That's sediment. That is mud,
Yeah.
dirt. I mean, it's almost like Jello pudding. It's not even water. It's like Jello pudding.
Wow, that's crazy, man. That right there, I can't wrap my head around if you was in your home and you heard that water coming and it was rushing. I'm talking about rushing in to destroy your home. You don't know where to run. There's nowhere to run.
Nowhere.
It's water
Nowhere.
all around you. You're on a mountain. Man, I can't imagine the trauma, the devastation, the horrific scenes and the stories that we're going to hear about concerning
in the years to
this
come,
hurricane.
in the months and years to come. Absolutely.
This is crazy, man. It's crazy. I'll tell you. Let's look at another video, Sean.
Yeah, that's bridges gone. That's roads gone. Somebody wants to talk to you.
Yeah, they'll talk to me later.
Yeah, that's homes destroyed. That's Chimney Rock right there.
Yeah.
Look at that whole road gone. Complete road gone.
Yeah, it's crazy. Look how that water's rushing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Look at that house.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's just devastating, man. And we got to send our prayers up to
Absolutely.
the family
Absolutely.
and in that city in Asheville because there were people on vacation.
Yes. Yeah, we got people that don't live there that were probably caught in the middle of this.
Yeah, there were people on vacation.
Because we know for a fact that there was people on vacation that just decided, well, I paid all that money to be here. I can't cancel it. I'm going to go up there. It's just going to rain, but I need to get away. I need to have some tranquility. I'll just sit in the cabin and just enjoy the rain. No, they weren't enjoying that. They were not enjoying that at all.
They were not, man. And I'm telling you, it's. Whew, I just can't imagine going through such tragedy. And you got babies. You know how helpless it had to be for husbands and wives who you just can't save nobody. You can't save yourself. You can't save nobody. This water is destructive and it's moving. It's rolling. And it's powerful. It's so powerful that the house shaking and it's being lifted off of its foundation. That's
and not to mention structures in the mountains are not built very sturdy. I mean, they're hanging on by just some concrete pylons, and they're hanging off the edge of the mountain because the people that build there, they want the best view possible, and the only way you can get the best view possible is if you're just hanging off the edge of the mountain. And it doesn't take much for those mudslides to start destroying that little bit of foundation that these homes have, and then the home starts toppling off the mountain.
Yeah, and not to mention that they never had that problem. They never had to worry about something washing them off of a mountain. Not at all.
Right.
Nothing.
Not at all.
Running them off.
Not at all.
Because they were secure.
They don't.
They were secure in what they had and what they were doing and how they were
Yep.
living a great life in the mountains. I've been up there, man. Have you ever been up there, Sean?
I've been there several times. I've gotten cabins and I've gone skiing I've had a great time in the mountains, man. And I'm gonna be a little selfish right now. I'm gonna miss going up there because it's gonna be a while. It's gonna be a while before we can get back there. The infrastructures in Western Carolina are completely destroyed. I mean,
Yeah.
hundreds of bridges are gone. Hundreds of roads, highways are gone. I mean, major infrastructures are gone. Police stations, fire departments, post offices. I mean, there is no more infrastructure in many parts of these areas, and it's going to take a while to rebuild, even if they can rebuild. I mean, who knows, man?
And
Who
think
knows?
about this, Sean. The sentimental things that were lost, photos, wedding photos, memories you can never get back, heirlooms. I mean, just think about what was
Yep.
lost, what our people in Asheville lost. Not these people, our people that they're lost. Because I used to go
They've been
to
lost.
Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So you
Oh,
go
yeah.
through Cherokee, go through Asheville. It's just
Yep.
so breathtaking. Every
It
time you
is.
see a mountain, for me, it's like, wow. But the people
Yeah.
are there, oh, it's a mountain. But for us, it's
Yeah,
it's this historical
Yeah.
landmark that just say,
it is. It is.
I mean,
It is.
I mean, the animals, the livestock that perished, it was man, it's sad.
Yeah.
Man, it's really
And we're hearing so many stories of families watching their loved ones washed away, and they could not,
Yeah.
and there's nothing they could do to stop it. There's nothing they could do to help it. I saw one heart wrenching story of a man that lost his fiance and son, and when it showed him, it looked like he had been through a meat grinder because of all the wood and debris that he was trying to get through to get to his loved ones, and they were swept away. And he's not yet found his loved ones. I mean, they are lost in the debris, and it's just and there's, like you said, over the last couple of weeks, you're hearing more and more stories of people losing loved ones, and they just watched them perish.
Yeah, and a lady said that her son perished. He died, and he was crying like, Jesus, please save me.
He was.
Now,
was.
For a person who don't believe in God, and I want to say this song, be like, well, why didn't God save him? Be realistic. God ain't walking around in the earth picking up stuff and moving it. But they will use that as a tool to say God don't exist. He cried out for Jesus, and Jesus didn't come save him. He was saved by Christ when Christ died. It had nothing to do with flood. But you got these people, I won't say something else about them, but these crazy people who will take that situation to justify there's no God.
Well, now, hey, that's a great segue that you just took us into. A lot of times it's not crazy. It's not understanding. It's because we as believers, we preach that God will save us. We preach that God is a protector. We preach that God watches over. And then when you have something so tragic happen that is so public, then of course the non-believers that don't understand what we know and what not what we believe or what we know, of course there's going to be questions. Well, why didn't God swoop down and save this young boy when he called out to him? Sometimes God's will, we can't understand God's will. We cannot. And what you just said earlier, the saving had already happened. When he gave his life, when that little man gave his life to Christ, he was saved.
That's right.
And the harsh reality to a non-believer is that death is not always the worst thing. Death is not always the worst thing.
Yeah, got you. You got another thought before we go to the next video?
No, go ahead.
Okay. You know, we can. You know what? I think we should go a little deeper in this.
Okay.
I don't think that. So you said some people don't understand, which I agree. If you don't believe we believe and have the experiences, see, I don't believe in God because of something I read. I don't believe in him because of what was preached to me. I actually have experiences to justify why I know him. I don't believe in God. I know him. I
Right.
know him.
Right.
I don't have to believe in him. I know him. And
Right.
when you know him, when things like this happen, you say, okay, God, it wasn't you. You was in the storm. It wasn't the devil. He was in the storm. We are in a world, and I've said this plenty of times before, where there are elements of physics and things that come into play to create stuff that a storm, fire, a hurricane, a tornado
Right.
is not
Right.
created. It's not God doing it, and ain't nobody being punished. These are things that just are happening in our atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when these
mean-
elements come together, that's what it produces. Like a disease, it's happening in your body. You don't know it, and then boom, it comes. That's the same thing with a hurricane. It
That's right.
develops.
It just develops. I agree. It's just there, and it causes calamity and it causes destruction.
Yeah. Let's go to our next video. And this is Chimney Rock.
Yes.
All right, guys, just to give you an understanding of the devastation we're dealing with here. Chimney Rock's gone.
I'm going to pause that. He said Chimney Rock is gone.
It
The
was.
whole
Yeah.
city, well, town, is
Town.
gone. Has been demolished. It is no more. It is gone. And that is horrifying. You got mail. You got so much that belonged to them has been destroyed. Has been obliterated.
Now, Chimney Rock, for people that may not have been there, we've been through there before. Chimney Rock is basically a tourist attraction. It's a small, what you would call a tourist trap, where you would, on your way to get to Chimney Rock, which is an overlook cliff on top of a mountain, where you could stand out and just look at the valley. So this is a big place where thousands upon thousands of people come through every year. It is the livelihood of these residents. They have their shops where you can go buy knickknacks and candies and food and other mountainous type trinkets and stuff like that. This was the livelihood of the people that lived here, and they have lost everything. This was their income right here.
Wow. And I believe the government is going to do the right thing. They're doing the right thing actually right now.
Yeah.
So
they are. They're doing the best they can. And we'll get into more of that later in this episode.
And don't believe everything you hear about what they ain't doing. We're going to talk about that too. But I'm going to play the rest of it.
Flying Bridge is gone. And road's gone. So I don't know what they're going to do to get us out of here, but we're going to have to figure it out.
I'm glad what he just said. I don't know what they're going to do to get us out of here. Yeah. I want everybody to understand that there's only, a lot of times in these areas, there's only one way in and one way out. And when that got destroyed, they are stuck. There's no way off that mountain. There's no way to get down. And that is the peril right now with FEMA, the peril of the federal government, the state government, all the people that are coming in. That's why it's so difficult and why it's so slow moving to get to these individuals, because you can't just drive there now. Yeah. You got to fly in. And even when you fly in, there's nowhere to land a helicopter in a mountain. So I just want people to I want people to remember that when we get to that segment of this podcast.
And here's the thing. They can't get to certain people. There, the mountain has been, the bridge has been wiped out. They cannot get to the people. There's people who needs medical attention, diabetics. They're on oxygen. They need some serious help. And they're not dying because of the storm. They're dying because nobody can get to them.
That's right.
And
that's always in a tragedy like that. You have the acute death, the actual death of the actual event itself. but more of the deaths come, just like you said,
Yeah.
later on, of disease and neglect and malnutrition and dehydration. That's when you really start. That's when the casualties start racking up.
And no water. No water.
Yep.
Play this video.
So I just got out of the water. We're up at the local emergency operations center. They have a Starlink set up, and water rescues are continuous. So the mud is insane here. The amount of bridges that are out, the amount of landlocked, stranded people is unbelievable. There's still plenty of people completely unaccounted for. Keep these locals in your prayers, because I've been doing this since 2013. I got some guys with me that have done it 30 years, and they've never seen anything like this. It's wild. The pictures and videos are nothing compared to seeing it in person. I don't even know how it's possible that it happened. But the job goes on.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. So yeah, man, that is crazy, man.
And then you got those men that are there to rescue, and getting them in place is difficult too, because they just can't drive to a location. I mean, they're logistically you have to set up all kinds of ways to get these specialized individuals into these locations, because you just can't send anybody into this. You have to send highly trained people. And you had a lot of people from out of that area that were trying to come into these locations and claiming, we're going to help. And then, the federal government, FEMA, was like, no, you're not, because you're just going to end up being somebody else that we're going to have to save.
Yeah.
Because you got to be a professional to do this right here. You got to know what you're doing when you're going into these places.
Yeah. And it's dangerous, Sean, because you can't get there to get to the people. The roads are bad. I mean, you can slide off the side of the mountain. The rescue efforts is going to be horrible. You got different cities like Rocky Mount. Listen, we got to give it up for Rocky Mount Police Department. I'm going to bring an applause in. Listen, they have sent people to Asheville, North Carolina. Right. They sent officers. They left out this week to go over there. So, listen, for all those who are responsible, the chief, the captains, and the city of Rocky Mount, listen, thank you guys for stepping up to go out to make sure that we show our support. Sean, did they do anything in Wilson County?
Absolutely, yeah. We've sent water rescue teams. We've sent officers. We sent a whole bunch of line workers to go up there to help get power restored. So we have sent manpower to the mountains to help out.
Yeah, and they're risking their lives. These people are going to an unsafe place, and they're risking their lives. So listen, we need to pray for our people who are going to support our people in need. And this is the time for prayer. It's the time for us to really pray. Yes. Because like Sean says, more people are going to be reported dead. And some folks will never be found.
Yes.
Never be found.
Yes. Some of those people, their tombs have already been dug. They are in such debris and such mud that they probably will never be found. That will be their burial site. And that's heartbreaking, because you're going to have a lot of families that didn't get to say goodbye, won't know where to go to visit, a loved one's grave. So the whole mountain, when it's all said and done, it could be, because I think the death toll as of this morning was 240. We're at 240. We still have at least 700 undercounted for. So if, let's just say for the worst of the worst case scenario, that we end up with 900 to 1,000 people that have perished in the storm, that area is going to be hallowed ground. All of that area is going to be hallowed ground. It really will. And then they're going to have to really discuss, do we rebuild here? Because this is hallowed ground. You know what I'm saying? So
it can be, I hate to use the word, a cemetery. People have perished, and because water and decomposition that salt water, it just dissolves. But man, like I said, this is not a podcast we're happy to do, but we just letting folks know
we're not.
You know, let them know that, hey, this has happened to our people, and it is worse than what the news media can show. What they're showing on TV is not how bad it is. It's far worse.
Yes,
devastation is far worse than what we're seeing. Let's go to this next video.
Okay.
And this is an aerial view.
Yeah, go ahead and mute it right quick.
Yeah.
All right, I want everybody to take a look at this video right here. This video just shows the trees basically it shows the trees that were pushed over. Because these are some of the highest points on the mountain, and these were some of the areas that got the highest wind. Because I want everybody to understand by the time it hit that area right there, it was still a Category 2 hurricane. It was still a Category 2 hurricane to a Category 1. And I want you to just see how it pushed and laid all these trees down in this video. It just laid them down. That was not water. That was wind that laid those trees down.
Force. Man, that's powerful. I'm surprised that house still standing. Man, that is. And look how high they up, Sean. Can you imagine getting washed? No, I can't imagine getting washed off of this mountain.
Yeah, man.
The velocity of how it's going to trickle down, it's immeasurable. Look at that. And they are up there in the mountains.
Yeah.
In the mountains.
And you take something so far from a tropical area and you insert a tropical storm into that area, and you could just imagine the devastation that it's going to take.
Yeah.
Because the mountains, as great and grand and as powerful as the mountains are, they are still a very fragile area because all this vegetation is in rock. So all these trees can only go so deep. So when you have these hurricane force winds that come flying through there, it's just going to push all them trees down.
Yeah. And Sean, we live, y'all, but Cornelia's name is popping up where your name's supposed to be. Cause I ain't trying to rename you, man. But
I know, right?
Yeah, I had to put that back there. So somebody said in the comments, hey, his name's Sean. It ain't Cornelius. Yeah, my brother Cornelius. Listen, man, I got to get with you because we got some more work to do. Cornelius will be back on the podcast shortly.
Yes, he will.
Yes, shortly. Yes, he will. So yeah, man. I can't. For the rescuers, the trauma they're going to go through, the things they are going to see.
Yeah.
There was a lady that said she saw, one of her neighbors saw some costumes, Halloween costumes floating in the water. And when they went down there, they were not costumes. They were actual people.
Yeah.
Man, that's...
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a couple of stories where some line workers were in their buckets up there working on lines near rivers, and they were watching as bodies were floating by. There was other line workers that were retrieving bodies out of the tops of trees, and that's incredible. Like, and I can't even imagine. My imagination can't even fathom how a human being got in the top of a tree. That's incredible to me.
Yeah, that's incredibly horrible.
Yes.
It's just incredibly horrible. Let's play this next video right here.
We lost 6 people.
Oh, yeah.
And that was all on first shift. Why'd you make us work that day? Why? We shouldn't have worked. We shouldn't have been there. None of us should have been there. Why did you make us work when you knew you were taking a statement, you were monitoring it? Okay. Why'd you make us stay and work? It broke my heart to see that they died and that they didn't make it. All because of greed, I think. They shouldn't have ever made us go into work that day. And it breaks my heart for them people that we lost. They were good. Every one of them were good people. I said, can we leave? And the woman said, no, not until I speak with Jerry. About 10 minutes later, she came back and said, y'all can leave. We have one way in, one way out. And when they told us we could leave, the one way out was blocked off. We didn't know what to do. We were in panic mode. So the water was coming up, and then we did what we had to survive. 6.
Now I'm gonna tell you,
Yeah.
whoever owns Impact Plastics don't ever need to go back into business. And I mean, I worked at a place that did the same thing, and I'm not gonna name it because, hey, you got to make a decision. When your life is in jeopardy, you can get another job, but you can't get another life. And the sad thing about it is this, that they actually, why would you, as a company, allow your employees to work during a natural disaster when they have declared a state of emergency? And Sean, there's a lot of companies that's still doing that right now.
Oh, yeah. That's, believe it, if you're not in the education system, state of emergency means nothing to manufacturing, to retail. It means nothing. The state, it's only observed if you're in the education field, or because these manufacturers are always going to run. These retail stores are always going to remain open throughout this. And I think this situation right here speaks more on the end of they didn't take it serious. The neglect to me in this situation was they just didn't take the storm seriously enough, to the point to where when they excuse me, when the water was upon them, it was too late. It came so fast, it was just too late. It was too late. But this right here, I mean, yes, we can chastise these individuals. They were probably wrong. They definitely need to be convicted of something. I really believe they should. But at the end of the day, this is common practice across all manufacturing across this entire United States of America.
Yeah, and that's sad, because 6 people died because they was forced to come to work.
Yes. Yes.
In the midst of a hurricane.
Yep.
Man, that's horrible. Now, Sean,
that's horrible.
Earlier, you sent me a video. You said you want to have a conversation
yes.
on the political side of how the Republicans, and like I said, we're not pushing any particular party, wanted to use this hurricane as a political tool to gain some ground. So this is your video.
Well, before you run this video, I just want to stay on the actual hurricane itself. I want everybody to know, and everybody already knows. I mean, if you don't know this by now, you're living under a rock, and that's probably a cool place to be right now because it's kind of crazy out here. We got another hurricane. We got another hurricane on the way. Hurricane Milton, churning in the same waters that Helene came through. Now, this one right here is an absolute, it's much smaller in landmass as Helene was. Helene was an absolute beast of a storm when it came to landmass. This one is much smaller, but it is doing things that is almost mathematically impossible for our region. For people that don't know this, there's a mathematical equation that they use to figure out how big a storm is going to be. And these mathematical equations, like they all do, all have laws and everything, and they have preset calculations. And those preset calculations are that our atmosphere in the Atlantic basin of the Gulf can only produce a storm so strong.
Yeah.
Now, because Helene had went through the Gulf and already churned up the Gulf, when a hurricane of that size comes through, it mixes the water. It brings the cold water from the bottom and brings it to the top. And when that happens, it cools off the water enough to where another storm should not come through and be able to intensify the way this has. I want everybody to know that this storm went from a tropical storm to a Category 1 in less than 10 hours. And then the millibars inside, the pressure millibars inside the eye dropped 50 millibars in another 10 hours. It went from a Category 1 to a Category 5 in 10 hours. That has never happened in the history of recording hurricanes. It never has happened before. So now now this equation that these meteorologists use to decide how big a hurricane is going to be, the equation is broken because all the variables are outside of what the storm should have been able to achieve in such a small amount of time. And that's why these meteorologists are terrified with the storm, because they've actually got to the point now to where they cannot really predict the power that the storm is going to be. The best they can do is predict the path the storm is going to take. And that's why they're telling everybody, you got to go. You have got to go because this thing can stay at a Cat 5 and make landfall at a Cat 5. Now, if a Cat 5 landfall happens in Florida on the west side of the coast,
It's done.
the west side of Florida is 10 foot below sea level, okay? It is protected by levees and sea walls and stuff like that. This storm could bring in anywhere from 20 to 30 foot storm surge, which will absolutely inundate that entire area with water. Mm-hmm. Now, this side of the of coast has already been ravaged by Hurricane Helene. There is debris all over these cities and all over this coast that is on the side of the road waiting to get picked up. This stuff is going to end up becoming projectiles when this storm comes through. And that's why these meteorologists are absolutely terrified. So I just wanted everybody to know this. We're doing this podcast tonight on a Tuesday. By Wednesday night, they're saying that the hurricane is going to make landfall at night, which is dangerous in itself. Mm-hmm. They don't really know how powerful the storm is going to be. And this is one of the first times in the history of forecasting these storms that they really don't know what to expect. And they are terrified.
And here's worse. It's not just the hurricane that's creating tornadoes, lightning strikes, wind surges. Listen, if a Category 5 hit Florida, the rain ain't half the problem. The wind is.
The wind and the wind and storm surge. Wind and storm surge.
It can bust open homes. I mean, it can get up under the house and bust things open. This is serious. This is really, really serious. So if you live in Florida, you should be gone. You should be out. You should be in North Carolina, South Carolina, but you should not be in Florida at all. So, Sean, you want to play that video?
Yeah, let me set this video up right quick. Okay, this video is one aspect of what we would like to talk about, but setting it up right now in this political climate that we're in, this Hurricane Helene has caused a lot of misinformation. It has caused a lot of lies being told, and it has caused a lot of the people in the Republican Party or MAGA Party, whatever you want to call them, to use this as a soapbox to, how could I put it, show the deficiencies of the party that they're running against. And they are telling outright lies to the public about what's going on, telling outright lies that the federal government isn't doing anything, saying that FEMA isn't doing anything. They're not telling people that the federal government and FEMA are exhausted with funds because of all the other natural disasters that we have come through. Because FEMA is not one of those individuals that can write a blank check. FEMA is an organization that is funded by Congress. They've got to come together and give them more money. FEMA is behind by 3 years. FEMA is still dealing with writing checks from storms and wildfires and tornadoes from 3 years ago. So they're doing the best they can. Now, when you have the MAGA party sitting there talking about all these lies, telling all the public that they're not doing anything and that's why we need to be elected, there's no decency in that. There's absolutely no decency in it, because you know you're telling a lie. You know that you're deceiving voters in this process, and you're working up your base into thinking that we're even more evil and that we're even more sinister when we're not. They're doing the best they can.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's horrible that they're doing that.
Yeah. And here's the crazy thing. When you want to capitalize off of somebody's pain, think about that. And you're going to vote for this person that wants to capitalize off of somebody's pain and lie. Donald Trump was like, well, you know, the governor of North Carolina could not reach Joe Biden, and it was an untruth.
It was a very untruth.
Far from the truth. The governor said they missed their calls. It was a missed call. They miscommunicated, and then they did get a chance to communicate.
They did
the necessary steps. But
then you had situations where Biden was not at the White House. Biden was at another location. But what people don't understand is a president can be effective from anywhere in the world. His infrastructure travels with him. He can be effective anywhere. And then you have the double standard. It's like, well, Biden wasn't at the White House. Trump was hardly ever at the White House. He stayed at Mar-a-Lago. He stayed there. But I will admit, he was just as effective as Mar-a-Lago as he was at the White House. So if you're going to go after somebody for doing that, then go after your own candidate for doing the same thing.
Yeah. So yeah, man, this is horrible.
But yeah, to build up that video right there, this is just indicative of North Carolina. This video that we're going to play is indicative of North Carolina. Our legislation has not been passing, allowing for updated building codes to take place in North Carolina. They keep not voting on it or denying the vote to go through to update building codes in this state. And in doing that, you make it to where FEMA cannot fund us like they would fund everybody else. Right. Now, this was Republican legislation that actually did all this. They did it for other reasons. They've been doing it over the past years, and it's finally caught up with them. And now they want to blame FEMA and blame the Democratic administration when it's what you did all along. It's what you caused all along. All right, go ahead and play the video.
Real quick thing. They vetoed it. They wouldn't allow these people to get the insurance and all these things in place so that if a natural disaster happened, they could. No, Sean, it was like you said, to get their homes built tough enough and strong enough so they can withstand this, especially the people on the coast.
Well, it's more than that. Being able to withstand a disaster. It's more along the lines of you've got to fall within the guidelines of these laws so that FEMA can fund you, because FEMA has to have these laws in place in order to make sure that you get the proper funding. It's red tape that we just can't get away from.
Gotcha. I'm gonna play this video.
Trickling streams in the North Carolina mountains turned to raging rivers after Helene dumped record-setting rain. The water wiped away roads, homes, entire towns.
I'm hopeful that they will look at this recent disaster and it will cause a complete paradigm shift.
Kim Wooten is an engineer and serves on the North Carolina Building Code Council. The destruction she sees in western North Carolina reminds her of the building safety codes that state lawmakers and the North Carolina Home Builders Association lobbying group have prevented from passing.
There have been a number of bills proposed over the years to address steep slope construction. All three of those were defeated. Local jurisdictions tried to adopt sane, safe, steep slope construction methods. And those were also opposed or weakened.
But it's not just what's been blocked, it's what lawmakers and the NCHBA have passed.
What it does is it erodes the safety and security that's supposed to be written into the building code.
State Representative Laura Budd opposed 2 recent bills pushed by the HBA, even though she's also an attorney practicing construction litigation.
Most of my clients are licensed general contractors, they are licensed trades, and not a single solitary one of them is in favor of this.
Republican legislators backed by the North Carolina Home Builders Association filed a bill in 2023 that essentially blocks North Carolina from adopting newly updated codes until 2031.
Okay. Block.
Yeah, block.
Block. Y'all heard that. Let me play it again for you Republicans.
They are licensed trades, and not a single solitary one of them is in favor of this.
Republican legislators backed by the North Carolina Home Builders Association filed a bill in 2023 that essentially blocks North Carolina from adopting newly updated codes until 2031. Governor
2031. We're in 2024 right now, Sean.
We are.
So they have blocked this
for the next 7 years.
7 years. So how can FEMA compete with that?
They can't. Because FEMA have regulations. Everything has regulations, and in order for us to abide by FEMA regulations, we have to get these codes up to standard. And North Carolina, this definitely should have already been on the table, because this is not our first natural disaster. We have a coastline. Our coastline has been hit with hurricanes many, many times. We have seen destruction many, many times. So this should have already been handled. You should not. Now you've got a disaster of epic proportions, and that needs the biggest chunk of FEMA money that they can possibly get, and they might just miss out because we did not decide to put our codes to standards.
Yeah, and that's a tragedy by itself. That's a serious tragedy by itself. I'm gonna play the rest of the video, but I'm gonna back that back up just a little bit. I don't want to hear that again. But
North Carolina Home Builders Association filed a bill in 2023 that essentially blocks North Carolina from adopting newly updated codes until 2031. Governor Roy Cooper vetoed it, warning it could cause the state to lose FEMA funding, but the legislature overrode his veto.
Our governor tried to step in. He tried to step in to overturn it. And they didn't give him no support. Governor Cooper, and thank you for that.
And this is indicative of this Republican Party wanting very feverishly to negate and roll back as many regulations as they possibly can. And all these regulations do is protect us, the citizen. And when you roll back regulations and stifle regulations, all you're doing is helping the corporations. You're helping the people with money, because they are lobbying to get as much money as they can, and that hurts the citizens of those states.
Yeah. And my wife, Sakithia, said, wow.
Yeah.
So sad. It is sad. And this is why it's so important that we vote. We got to vote policy. Stop choosing Democrat or Republican. I'm an independent. You got to vote for the person that's going to make life better, not for your kids, but for your grandkids, because it is that important that we choose the right policies to vote for. And our governor tried to overturn what these Republicans put out there concerning this situation. Now, these people in Asheville wouldn't be dealing, well, they would be dealing with the hurricane, but they would be dealing with the aftermath of not getting the help that they need. So, Governor Cooper, good job on trying to save your state.
Filed a bill in 2023 that essentially blocks North Carolina from adopting newly updated codes until 2031. Governor Roy Cooper vetoed it, warning It could cause the state to lose FEMA funding, but the legislature overrode his veto. The governor's office estimates North Carolina communities have already missed out on $70 million in FEMA funds this year. Because
$70 million.
Yeah,
now, we just
million.
had Asheville. We're going to lose $1 billion.
Yeah.
And they can't get these funds.
Yeah.
Because of Republican policies. The governor tried to overturn it. He tried to veto it, and they crushed him on it. That's sad.
Yep.
Because of the Home Builder Association backed law.
And those federal tax dollars are going to other states to make their states more resilient to floods.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our tax dollars are now going to other states.
Yes.
Somebody make sense of this for me. For real.
Absolutely.
Now make sense of this for me, man.
Yeah, well, it makes no sense at all. It's just this Republican legislature that only cares about corporations. The corporation is who they work for, plain and simple. Now, I'm not saying that the Democrats don't work for corporations. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that the corporations that the Democrats aren't taking money or anything like that. There is definitely corruption across the board. But we are absolutely seeing the unbelievable corruption of these lobbyists that are coming in, and these Republicans are laying down for these corporations and allowing these huge oversights that is harming their constituents. I want you to understand something. All of Western Carolina is red except for one county. And that is the county that holds Asheville. Asheville is the one blue county in all of Western North Carolina. And it's their constituents are the ones that are paying the price for the Republicans doing what they're doing. But at the end of the day, they're still going to vote for them. They're still going to vote for them.
Wow.
Going to other states to make their states more resilient to floods.
$1 billion in FEMA funds this year because of the Home Builder Association backed law.
And those federal tax dollars are going to other states to make their states more resilient to floods.
In 2017, the Trump administration revoked a flood program that required federally funded infrastructure like highways, public housing, and hospitals to be built with higher safety standards.
You know, I ain't just going past that. Y'all heard that, right? Let's go back. Let's go back to Mr. Trump.
This year because of the Home Builder Association backed law.
And those federal tax dollars are going to other states to make their states more resilient to floods.
In 2017, the Trump administration revoked a flood program that required federally funded infrastructure like highways, public housing, and hospitals to be built with higher safety standards. In 2021, the North Carolina Fire Marshal's Office opposed another HBA-backed code change. The Deputy State Fire Marshal wrote that it would negatively impact insurance ratings statewide and could decrease participation in the National Flood Insurance Program.
Does it feel like anything the Home Builder Association wants passed will ultimately pass?
If you follow the money, you tend to find the answers to those questions.
That's what we did by comparing the Home Builder Association-backed Senate Bill 166 with a list of the politicians whose campaigns have received the most money from the NCHBA and its education fund over the last 4 years.
So basically, this is political prostitution.
Yeah.
They sold themselves,
absolutely.
and the people in Asheville, North Carolina, is going to pay the penalty because our legislation failed them.
Yeah.
Our legislation failed them. The Republican Party failed them.
In
Donald
this scenario,
Trump
absolutely.
failed
Absolutely.
them.
Absolutely.
This list of Republican lawmakers was named to a committee to help get the bill passed. 6 of the group has received more than $377,000 towards their election campaigns from the Home Builder Association and its education fund. But it's not just Republicans. To override the governor's veto, Democrats had to play a part too. 5 Democrats who voted to override the veto received more than $120,000 from
there we go.
the CHBA and its education fund.
Do voters want a safe home? Do they want a home that's cost effective? Do they want a home that won't blow away in a hurricane, that will stay anchored during a flood? That's up for voters to say.
And we're beating up on Republicans, and we rightly should have. But I also want to call out those Democrats that did not block the veto. They could have blocked the veto, and we could be a lot better off. Those individuals could be a lot better off right now, but they chose not to block it. So yes, like my other comment just a few minutes ago, everybody in the government is corrupt. Everybody in the government is corrupt.
And that's sad. I mean, you're going to take our tax dollars and you're going to send it to another state. And if they have a hurricane, they're going to benefit off of FEMA dollars.
Yep.
Man.
And just to I guess to explain what that statement is that Lamar just said, FEMA dollars come in from everywhere. It's kind of like a slush fund where FEMA money comes in from everywhere. All states have to also add money into this FEMA. And when there's a national disaster, if a state has done more for their home and building codes, they're going to get a bigger chunk of what's getting paid out than the ones that didn't keep up with the building codes.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So, listen, Sean. First of all, man, thanks for that video, because that video broke down a lot of different areas that we need to be functioning on.
Yep.
So listen, North Carolina, America, period. We got to take care of our own. We got to be aware of what we need to be aware of. These hurricanes, we got to take them serious. If you live in Florida, you shouldn't be there right now. Don't wait till tomorrow, because that's when it's coming, and the traffic's gonna be bad. Please get out. Sean, you got a closing thought, man?
Yeah, I'm just saying, everybody that if you can spare a few dollars, send it to the Red Cross, send it to a local chapter. Anybody who's doing something for the relief of Western Carolina and this upcoming disaster that's about to happen here in Florida. If you can, forego a night out, forego a night out on a town that and just send that money in that direction, man, because they're going to need all the help they can get.
Yeah. And what I'm going to do is, Sean, we're going to post this again tomorrow. I'm going to put a link for all the support areas that is accepting funds. Yeah. So listen, next time, tune into Mind Changes Podcast. I'm Lamar Blakely, your host. And my man,
and I'm Sean Atkinson. And we're praying for everybody, man. We love all you guys.
Yes. Grace and peace.
We told y'all, we came to expose the lies and reveal the truth. We told y'all, we bring in biblical principles of factual